It's a really satisfying business to be in. It's a lot of fun. We've done more work that we enjoyed and actually got the bill for it than I can count.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 135. What advice can others offer us in building a successful drone-based business, or in better understanding where the industry is headed? As I pondered this question, it occurred to me that I've already done 134 interviews with leaders in the drone industry, and they've already shared advice and lessons learned on building a drone-based business. Now, you could listen to each of these episodes yourself, but to make things easier, I went back to those interviews and extracted some wonderful tips. Today, we get a full blast of advice on starting a drone-based business and understanding what makes large and small businesses successful in today's industry. In this episode of the Drone Radio Show, you'll hear from Matt Dunleavy of SkySkopes, Guy Cherni of Atlas Pro, Eric Freeman of Alpha Unmanned Systems, Siggi Hendrichs of Notifleet, Chris Anderson of 3D Robotics, Abbey Spicher of Dart Drones, Christine Spitine of Blueye Robotics, Stephen Flynn of SkyTango, and Ken Haynes of UAS Pro Pilots. Some of the comments reflect different points of view, while others reinforce similar concepts and experiences. Together, when presented in a single stream of consciousness, the lessons learned from these individuals provides a quick reference point on what to do to be successful. I hope you enjoy it.
When you're considering being a drone entrepreneur, that you need to jump in head first. And I don't think that could be, any more true. It certainly rings true, but from a personal standpoint, having gone through it, there's a considerable amount of perseverance that someone who wants to get into the drone industry is going to have to exhibit. I would say exude the virtues of being nimble and scrappy and humble. And this industry is going to reciprocate the efforts that you put into it, and maybe even disproportionately so to your benefit.
If you can build a prototype, even if it's simple, even if it's worse than you imagine your product being, make it and get it out in front of other people quickly. You might think that certain needs exist, and they might, but people may not be willing to pay for them, or your hypotheses could be wrong. As an entrepreneur, I've learned that you're going to make mistakes and there isn't a right answer, but testing your product and your hypotheses and getting out in front of other people before you invest too many resources is probably the best advice I can give to anybody with a new idea.
A lot of people want to do a ton of research at the beginning and trying to have the perfect business before they ever speak to a customer. And I would definitely recommend just sort of going for it and learning from customers and trying to provide them the best service that you can at the beginning. Like our first Dart Drones class, I was really embarrassed. I was like, this isn't perfect. Oh, we should have had this handout and we should have had lunch and we should have done this. And then, our students loved it. There was no other option really for them to get trained, and they were just crashing their drones prior to meeting us. So it was just cutting myself a break and being like, okay, this is what we have now. And then learning what was important to the students, because guessing is not going to have you figure out what your customers want.
There's no supply chain today that fits all drones. Each piece of equipment needs to fit exactly with what you're doing, the size and the range and the frequency and the regulation. So I think that the most important thing is that you need to understand that you're going to have to do a lot of things, if not everything, by yourself.
The more you target and deliver a complete solution for your customers, the more likely you'll succeed, right? So I would advise folks that are in this space to think beyond just the piloting of a drone. Think about what the application of the data that's generated from drones are, be able to deliver a more complete life cycle in terms of that customer experience. And ultimately, customers will react to things that just work on their behalf.
There's a disconnect, reminiscent of the software world too, though. companies talk a lot, and the reality is that when you actually investigate and see what's being done and what videos show, devices flying, there's a big difference. So there's much more talk than reality.
If you get a no the first time you ask for funding or for partnerships, then look for another partner. Then ask another investor, because you have to believe in what you're doing. And then I think that's really visible. That's easy to see for everyone around you. You're actually putting everything into this, and you're not going to give up just because you meet one door.
You can't just go to China and ask for someone to build you a drone. And you can't just patch few products together and expect to get an effective and efficient solution.
I have been on many sets where you're put in this position where the customer comes up to you, you launch your drone, they look at what you can get from 400 feet and they say, I really need to see more. I've got to get this in one frame. Can you go higher? So now you're out in the middle of nowhere, and what do? You say no, and you don't get paid, and you either have a pissed off customer and you go home hungry, or you go, well, there's no one around. I'll go another 100 feet. Who's going to know? So now I go up to 500 feet. I'm outside my license limit. My customer takes that footage, and how is that any different than him using something from an unlicensed operator, right? That was beyond my insurance. It was beyond my remit. And I just took work from the guy down the road who charges twice what I do because he's got a transponder on his rig and he's licensed to go to 2,500 feet or whatever, or they should have hired a full helicopter.
Never be afraid, and never think that you're not going to make it or that you're too small in the bigger picture. We were thinking big and we're thinking global from the beginning, and we have never let anything stop us.
Drones aren't magic. They're a great technology, but they're not magic in the fact that they sell themselves. The drone business is a business. And for guys that are getting into it, they need to approach it as such. And I think that's kind of the moment that a lot of these guys get to is they have a drone, they walk into somebody's office and they announce their presence and they're just another guy selling something.
Personally, I would say starting up is probably the hardest thing, but for myself personally, I think it's probably one of the most exciting industries that you can get into. You'll probably come across a lot of issues getting licensed because there's quite a lot of loopholes to jump through to do it properly. But once you've done it properly and you know the system, it's all a learning curve. Once you've done it, you can obviously operate a lot safer and within the law, and it's definitely worth your trouble.
You cannot have an industry that grows and thrives based on people saying, cross my heart, I promise I'll behave when you're not watching, right? I mean, there's no other industry. I mean, I challenge anybody to say, tell me another industry that works like that. You don't have, a heart surgeon say, well, I'm going to do your heart surgery today. And I just, I noticed there's a little shoulder problem over there. I'll move over there and fix that too, just to make you happy. I mean, that doesn't happen, right? I mean, maybe that's a bad example, but that's kind of core to all this. So that's what we do. We help not only the buyers really get what they ask for, but to make sure that they survive audits for compliance. But we also give flyers the ability to say no and the ability to not be caught in that tough choice of saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to break the rules because I need to get paid.
Hardware is hard and drones are harder. Right? You need to have all the skill set and know-how, and you still need to make partners as you go. I mean, there's no shortcuts in this industry. You need to make everything by yourself, and it needs to be valuable, right? The only way to grow in this field is by providing real value.
It's not about the drone. Assume the drone. Don't come into this industry because you're really into flying robots. Come into this industry because you're really into solving a real-world problem with data. I know that enterprise SaaS doesn't sound sexy. B2B, plumbing, data standards, enterprise software integration. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but that's how advanced technologies have real world impact.
I think that this market is opening up very positively for innovation and growth. And anyone who's an entrepreneur, I would just suggest focus on your customer and delivering what they need in the market. And you'll have a great company that you can build from that point on.
It doesn't sell itself. It's a business. You need a plan. You need an approach. You might need some help. But once you figure it out, it's a really satisfying business to be in. It's a lot of fun. We've done more work that we enjoyed and actually got to bill for it than I can count. It's the best job I've ever had.
That's it for episode 135 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed this audio montage of lessons learned offered by some of today's leaders in the drone industry. You can find a complete list of the speakers and their quotes on the Drone Radio Show webpage at droneradioshow.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1 per month, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to patreon.com/Drone Radio Show. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.